What's good, Ravens fans? Today, I want to talk about cornerbacks, and I want to talk about the 4 most impactful cornerbacks that I believe we're going to have this season. So I'm going to do 4-1. Again, there are other cornerbacks that will be used, but I just can't foresee them having a bigger impact than these 4, and I don't want the video to be 50 minutes long. If you guys want me to do a podcast, let me know in the comment section below. I'll find some people. Maybe it's you. We can do a podcast. So we're going to start with number 4. And I believe the 4th most impactful defensive back, cornerback on our team will be Brandon Stephens. Brandon Stephens, I like a lot because he's very consistent in what he can do. He doesn't try to be a superstar because I honestly think he doesn't have that high ceiling that some other cornerbacks on our team have, right? Of course, not a Marlon Humphrey ceiling, but I even think there's some rookies that have a higher ceiling than he does currently. But what he does really well is kind of the same thing that Rock Ya-Sin does. Rock Ya-Sin is very, very stable, right? He's not going to make crazy plays, but he'll come up and he'll try to make tackles. He'll kind of play his man tight, man to man, but again, can sometimes be just outclassed by the great receivers. And that's really going to hamper what he can do in this league at the top level. The great cornerbacks like a Marlon Humphrey, they're able to, one, always be in the right spot at the right time. I think Brandon Stephens has that part. But are you going to be able to, when the play breaks down and when everything is going haywire and you're just one-on-one out there with DeAndre Hopkins, are you going to be able to keep up? Are you going to be able to think and react so quickly when one mistake in hand placement, eye placement, foot placement, where your shoulders and your hips are, one mistake can lead to 50 yards down the field? I don't think he has that based on what I've seen from him in the league so far. I don't think he has that super high end, which is going to really put him lower on my list. Now, there's going to be a person on this list that you guys might disagree with. He will be the next person on this list, and you might say Brandon should be higher than him because Brandon has consistently done it. However, I think this next person has the ability to do a little bit more, but I don't want to go off Brandon. Brandon is good, and I think he'll be the 4th most impactful corner on our team, which is really important in our league, especially though how the Ravens play, where there's so many multiple different types of formations, and there will be injuries at the cornerback position because there always are in the league, and especially on the Baltimore Ravens. So I'm going to say number 4 for Brandon, and again, that's not saying he's bad. I'm just saying that I think other players will have more impact than he does. And speaking of other players, I think Pepe Williams is number 3. I think he'll have the 3rd most impactful season for the Ravens. Now, a lot of you guys might think, why would you pick Pepe? If you watched last season, I think it was clear to me anyway that Brandon had a better season when you take everything into account. And I do get that. But when you see Pepe play, that ceiling is high. The ceiling is sky high. And I mean, he can be the best nickel cornerback in the league in the next couple of years. To me, I think his ceiling is that high. And I really think being ability to play the nickel position, that nickel back, and then being able to go out wide and play the wide cornerback positions makes him so valuable. I don't think Brandon Stephens has the quickness to do the nickel position. I don't think he has it. Now, again, we have the liberty to being able to be like, okay, Kyle Hamilton, now you're going to play the nickel position, right? And not a lot of teams have that ability. We also have the ability to say things like, hey, Roquan, you're not going to stick with the man and run with him, but, go out there and shadow him in the zone coverage and you won't get completely lost out there. Other teams don't have that. So that could hurt the just usefulness of the nickelback position. But it's just undoubted to me that Pepe Williams, man, if he ever realizes that potential, he'll never be the best cornerback in the league just because of his stature. But he can be a top 10 cornerback, I think, especially out of that nickel position. If you guys remember, we had a player named Ladarius Webb. And Ladarius Webb was never going to be the best cornerback in the league just because of his size. However, he was definitely a top 10 cornerback in the league. And his ability to play the nickel position, and then later in his career he went back to safety, but that nickel position was so great for him, and that made him super useful to the Baltimore Ravens. So I think Pepe Williams is number 3, and when it comes to the most impactful, and I think he'll have a great season this year, and that's where I'm going to stick him. Number 2, again, now we're going to get a little predictable. Don't sign off now. But number 2 is going to be Rock Ya-Sin. Rock Ya-Sin was bought here for one reason and one reason only: be the anti-Marcus Peters, right? That was why, right? There were other cornerbacks that played a little closer to Marcus Peters. I believe Peters is still out there. However, Rock Ya-Sin provides 2 things that the Ravens want. The Ravens want, 1, a player that will just shut the hell up, right? We don't need the fussing and the fighting. That's what they want, right? That's the truth. We all know it. Second, though, they want a guy who doesn't miss assignments because he's trying to make a play. And that's what Marcus Peters does. And again, you can't make plays in this league at the cornerback position without taking risk. That's just 100% the truth. You cannot be great without taking risk in this league, unless you are just one of the best cornerbacks. Again, like a Darrelle Revis, right? Who didn't really have to take chances. Now, does that mean you don't get interceptions? Of course. Which is why Darrelle Revis really didn't have a lot of interceptions, because he was never that player to, try to fiend or try to get people to throw the ball his way. He just stuck you straight up, right? And this is what Rock Ya-Sin is going to try to do. Now, he won't be as good, of course, as Darrelle Revis, but he's going to try to stick you straight up. There's not going to be a lot of air there, and if you're going to make a play, it's going to be over his head, over the top. All those quick slants that are popular in the NFL from the RPOs, that's just not going to happen, because he's going to be playing tight man-to-man coverage the entire time, and that's what the Ravens want. Marcus Peters is better in the zone than he was in the man, right? Get a feel, okay, you look like you're going to do this, let me jump it, boom, interception, let's make magic happen. That's not at all what Rock Ya-Sin's going to do. Rock Ya-Sin's going to come up and make tackles, he's going to go stick close to his guy, and then after the game is over, he's going to go get his check. Ain't no touchdowns coming back to the house, ain't no flipping it. Raven fans love the flip, love the pitch, try to get that touchdown. None of that. But that is kind of what the Ravens need, and they believe that. So they went and got that cornerback. So I think he will be great, and I think his stability will be great for, again, the other cornerbacks on the team as well. Now again, he doesn't always play every single game, but if he can play most of the games, that will be such a relief to Marlon Humphrey, who will have to take a larger role this season without a Marcus Peters. And when I say larger, he has to be undoubtedly a top 4 cornerback in the league, right? But that stability always helps. It helps everybody, and I think it will help the entire team, which is why I have Rock Ya-Sin at number 2. And number 1, of course, is Marlon Humphrey. Marlon Humphrey is a special type of cornerback. He's a cornerback that has the physicality to win before the play is even done, right? Now, there are some cornerbacks that kind of have that physicality. Jalen Ramsey was one of those, right? Who, if Jalen Ramsey got in your face, you almost felt like the play was not going to be thrown your way because you knew he was going to mess up the timing of your route. Marlon Humphrey's like that as well. When Marlon Humphrey gets on the line of scrimmage, he goes and he messes up the timing of your route, and you kind of can't even get the ball thrown your way because the time is going to be so bad. And the quarterbacks can't really take that chance because they don't want to get sacked. This is what's going to happen to a lot of receivers. Marlon's that good. Marlon's also really good making the tackles, trying to get the ball out. Marlon's also good at man coverage. Again, he doesn't really have a weakness other than he's going to be playing the number 1 receiver most times. And when you play the number 1 receiver, sometimes they make great plays. That's not a weakness on him. That's just how the cookie crumbles in the NFL. However, he will be great. And again, he'll make life hard on offenses. He is, I would say, the second most important player on our defense, right? Number 1 is Roquan, based on the way that the Ravens are moving. Roquan Smith is the most important player. But number 2 is Marlon Humphrey, and it ain't close. After Marlon Humphrey, it may be, again, Marcus Williams, Kyle Hamilton, maybe one of the pass rushers because of how valuable pass rush is. But when it comes to being a great defense, the way the Ravens have set their defense up, they're going to say, hey, we have 2 safeties over the top. Marlon, it's your job to make sure that this short stuff to the best receiver, so he can catch it and run however many yards, that can't happen, right? And that's what Marlon is going to do. He's going to be up at the line a lot this season, I believe. And I think that that's really where his strength is, to let him sit in the pocket of a receiver, out-physical him, run with him, and then make plays on the ball. I think that's his strength, and I think he'll use that strength a lot this season. And that's why I have him as the most impactful receiver. I also think he's the second best player on our defense when it comes to skills. And so I really, really believe that he will be great, rise to the occasion, and be the most impactful defensive back on our team. You guys let me know what you think in the comments below. Thank you guys so much. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Go Ravens.